G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today, I thought we might have a look at the big boy, Brummbär. The Sturmpanzer Brummbär. Yes, that's right. It's beautiful. It's so majestic. I'm lost for words. It's a BABEH Sturmtiger. Basically a baby Sturmtiger. Look at it. It looks exactly like a Sturmtiger, but on a Panzer IV chassis instead, which is probably what the Sturmtiger or the Sturmtiger. I think I'm just going to try and pronounce it properly instead of being an idiot. But the Brummbär is really, really nice. It's not exactly competitive, but to quote a really, really good War Thunder streamer, Oddballs, every kill you get is extremely satisfying, and you will literally have extremely satisfying kills every time you get a kill. It is so fun to play. It's a challenge. It's a challenge, but it is very fun to play. And you'll see in this battle how it sort of rewards you. And then in the next battle we'll be a little bit serious, and we'll sort of have a look at how to play it and how it plays out in a match. Now, both of the maps that I will show you are quite small, and I would recommend using this tank on small maps if you can. If you can't, well, you're not going to really have a fun time, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But first, Abandoned Factory. We're going north. We're going to flank over the north side of the factories, which is normally where I like to go in most tanks. But you can see it's not really easy in a tank that doesn't have a turret. You have to sort of face the direction that they're coming from to put your largest or your heaviest armor forward, and you're very vulnerable in situations like this to flanking. You see, anyone who goes over that ridgeline is extremely able to destroy me very, very easily. At the end of the day, I only have Panzer IV armor on the sides and rear, but frontally I have 100mm, and you can see there I managed to hit the drive wheel of a Sherman, and it just goes underneath and destroys the whole thing. And there's the flank. That's a Cromwell that you will eventually see. There he is. He fires another shot at what I believe to be my driver's port, which is the big no-no. You don't fire... it's the big yes. You fire at the driver's port, but it's very easy to miss. And you can see that you're able to lob shells over the hill. I love that. This is so fun. It's kind of like the AVRE, but a lot cheaper, and basically the same fun at a lower battle rating. Although, if you like the AVRE, it's a good buy. I think the AVRE is a good buy, especially on a discount. But this more so, because it's lower tier. You meet more inexperienced players who don't really know what to do with a Brummbär. They think, just another Panzer IV. Easy, very easy. It's based on the Panzer IV chassis. We'll treat it like a Panzer IV. And what they do is they get into the trap of shooting the front and thinking they can just penetrate it, when realistically you're going to have a hard time. What you do when you face a Brummbär is you shoot the gun, or you shoot the driver's port. Now, you don't do that in a Stuart. Look at this little boy. He's like, let's run quick. And he's done a good job, to be honest. He hid behind some soft cover, and he's peeked out. He's trying to take some shots, but big, strong German. He's not gonna sort of lose out that easily. The Stuart really hasn't put himself in a good position. He's not really going to get far unless he manages to sneak around, which he can do. This thing traverses fairly slowly, but, strong German bias, and obviously that's a joke for those who I need to spell it out to. But there we go. Stuart is no longer Stuart. He's now a pile of rubble. That high explosive shell is extremely satisfying. It's kind of like, just a little bit like the Chiha shotgun. You see, the Chiha is all high explosive, and the Brummbär is mostly high explosive. You want to run that high explosive as much as you can. And you can see there's a Sherman. That Sherman can actually put the hurt on me. So I'm wiggling the tank a little bit, and you can see German bias bounces it again. I I love it, man. It's so fun. You can just bully people with this tank. Obviously, if you're up tiered, you're going to struggle a little bit, but most of the time, 4.7 tends to see down tiers because 3.7 and 4.0 are very well-played battle ratings. So here you see, I burst through the fence and just chuck a high explosive shell right into his side, as if nothing ever happened. It's great. It's glorious, and I love it. I love every little bit about this thing. It's just so good. The only exception would be learning the gun velocity, and I try and get the third-person shot here, but I'm out of luck. That's not really going to happen. But the tank really seems to fall apart at long range. It's not that great at long range, and you can see I'm tussling with an Achilles, and it's not really going so well. The Achilles is actually able to penetrate my tank, and the M4A1's also able to punch through me. I think he punched through my driver's hatch there. But moving on to the next game, I have just rounded the corner, and I see I believe that's a Chaffee. So I go for the shot and get this wizard kill. That is, like, you can't really get that level of satisfaction from any other tank in the whole game. You just take a random pot shot, you lift the gun so high. If that was like a T-64 or something like that, you would have to, you would end up shooting the shell out to something like 4,000 meters. Look at how high you have to raise the gun just to get a hit. And I take out his track. That's kind of cool. Like, I love this thing. It's just memey, it's fun, it's quirky, it's got a little bit of armor so you can bully. No one really plays it much, so it's a little bit unknown. The player base in general don't really know how to deal with it. So you've got some good fun here. And as you can see, I aimed for 300 meters instead of 350. That's the difference it will make. It will literally be the difference between you getting a kill and you not getting a kill. So this thing is really, really hard to aim. But if you can pull it off, again, it is so satisfying. You will not regret a single bit of this tank, ever. It is so worth the purchase, in my opinion. It's only something like, 2,000 golden eagles? So if you have some spare cash lying around and you're looking for a new derp tank, this is a good pickup. It's not a bad silver lion grinder as well, and it's a really, really good city brawler, especially if you've got flank support, because the one thing that this thing doesn't have is a turret, which means that anything that flanks you, anything that takes out your transmission and works around you, is able to kill you really, really easily. But of course, if you can get the drop on them, like in this situation here, quite literally getting the drop on them, because the shell literally falls out of the sky at a rate that you can outrun in most planes. That's how slow this shell is, and that's what I love, because it's both rewarding, challenging, fun, kind of derpy, kind of bully. You know, you can do a little bit of everything in this tank except sniping, and that is where the thing shines so much. It's just hilarious. And it's one of those things that you can like always come back to for a quick laugh. You can jump in a 4-man, you can, derp around a little bit. You can bully things like Chaffies. Like, look at these shots. I'm getting engine shots. No other tank in the game is able to pull this sort of stuff off. And yet here we go. I can bounce an Achilles. I can bounce a Wolverine. I can bounce a Sherman shot. Obviously, you have your weak spots, and I would recommend playing with the right-hand side of your tank exposed only, if you can. So what you do is you peek around a corner, turning left, so that your gun port, which is your main weak spot, is revealed last. And that's something that you can really sort of make use of as a tank destroyer. And that's one thing that people forget a lot about as well. If there's a frontal weak spot, you can always hide that in certain situations. For example, the classic one is the Chieftain, right? You crest a ridge, and when you sit behind a ridge, your lower front plate is not exposed, and that's your weakest armor. So in a situation with the Broom Bear, you have to sort of hide that weak spot if you can. And obviously it's not always possible, but in the ideal situation, if you're going to corner peek someone, you have to do it from the left-hand side, because that way you have the best chance. Obviously it's not going to come into fruition every time, but you're always going to have some opportunity. And then you get the gun to work, and it will literally go through the upper front plate of a Sherman. The gun penetrates so much armor. You can use the heat shell if you want, but I think the high explosive shell is a lot more derpy and a lot more fun. And if you wiggle the tank a little bit, you can see that guy was going for my weak spot. He didn't get it, and it was quite lucky. But this high explosive shell will literally rip through anything, except for a jumbo, which is where you switch the heat, and maybe a KV-1E for the heat shell as well. But that's really it. You have so much potential as a Broom Bear, and you have so much potential for it to be a massively fun game. Super challenging at long range, especially getting that drop. And you don't have a laser rangefinder or like a long range rangefinder like the tier 5 tanks. You have one out to about 1,000 meters. And honestly, beyond 1,000 meters, I don't think I would fire. You can use this thing as artillery, but the reload is just too slow, and you don't carry enough ammo to sort of throw shells around like that. And you can see it's still a challenge for me, who's played probably 12.5 games in the Broom Bear. It's fun, it's challenging, it's very, very rewarding. It's a tank that I think everyone should really pick up. It's one of those must-haves, I think. At least having a derp gun at some point in the game. You need that sort of one-hit potential. The FV4005, the KV2, the Broom Bear, the AVRE. Certain vehicles like that just have such derpy guns. ISU 152. I think there's a real a fun spot for them, and they're not uncompetitive. Some of them are really competitive. Some of them are really nice and fun. And honestly, there's always a spot for a derp gun, provided, of course, that you give them the support. You can take out heavy targets without so much as batting an eyelid. Like that Sherman would have been difficult for some of the early T-34s to take out. It would have been difficult for some of for example, if we had Shermans on our team, tanks like the Firefly and the SA-40 are very, very deadly targets as well. And certain Shermans, if angled correctly and at certain ranges, can actually give Panzer IVs a hard time. So having a derp gun around is actually not a bad idea and not a bad sort of strategy. So you can actually use this and be useful to your team, as well as having fun, as well as getting satisfying kills, and as well as earning plenty of RP and Silver Lions. That is my opinion on what a rewarding tank should be, and I think the Broom Bear fulfills that in almost every sense of the word. The only thing the Broom Bear actually needs now is a turret, but obviously not possible with a 152mm howitzer. But you get the point. It's a really good tank. I love it. It's fun, and it's really, really good to play. Anyway, ladies and gents, German bias is real. Trust me. Shh. Alright, German bias is real. Thank you very much for watching. I gotta go because the German FBI are gonna come. They're gonna come and take me away for some... FBI!